My name is Sam Perkins and I am 25 years of age. I am originally from Australia, but I've lived here for a long time. And then I served my mission in Rome, Italy.
My name is Daniel Harrison. I'm 22 years old and I'm from Nampa, Idaho, and I served my mission in Concepcion, Chile.
My name is Joseph Richmond. I am 23 years old. I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado, and I served an LDS mission for 2 years in the Reynosa, Mexico mission.
I think the best word to describe it, like initially, it's just a shock. You're used to one way of living and then you go somewhere and you have all of these expectations, you know, from where you just came from, and then it's like completely different. When we moved here, the culture was just different. I would say stuff and people wouldn't understand my references. Driving on the other side of the road was really hard to get used to.
It was a bit of a shock. I mean, like, North American culture is definitely different than South American culture as far as like hospitality, as far as like attitude towards other people and living situations. It was pretty hard, especially not knowing the language at all. It was a bit difficult to get used to the culture, because I think personally that to be able to really understand the culture, you need to understand the language so that you can really get to know people on even ground, I guess you could say. Another thing that has plays a lot into, I think, like the culture shock is like all like the physical things as well. So like climate and terrain, and also food. That's a big thing that I think really throws a lot of people to go for different countries for a loop is the difference in food and climate usually.
Well, when I was in Mexico, it was a little bit difficult. The biggest barrier for me was language, obviously, for the first few months. And you don't understand anyone, and you just follow someone else who knows the language. Also, just sometimes you would feel a little bit insecure. Like, as a white male, people think that you're wealthy, and I couldn't even take out my wallet without everyone looking at me.
In Australia, I feel like there's not as many like opportunities as far as like in high school you've got music programs, you've got sport programs, you've got clubs, and you know, a ton of different stuff to do. And then eventually you go to college and you can kind of pick and choose a little bit the same kind of thing. But I feel like in Australia it's more, there's less things to choose from. So you have to think of something that generally, hopefully, you enjoy, and then just sort of go with it. Or if school doesn't really work for you, you could do trade school, which I feel like is available here, but it's not, I feel like, as common. Whereas like in Australia, trade school is like a really big thing that's accessible, and it's just as acceptable as like someone going to college and getting a degree. So people don't look down on you, oh, you didn't get a degree. But in Italy, education definitely is more of an expensive thing, I think.
Elementary school and high school is very available, but it's not a huge push in Chile as far as education. Like, they don't really focus on that a ton. Like, elementary and high school, depending on where you're at, is incredibly necessary. In more developed areas, college is very accessible, but then again, it's not like pushed for a ton. You can get a lot of like vocational jobs in Chile that you don't need necessarily a degree for. College is kind of like only what really smart kids do, more than anything out in rural areas. They either work in like the fields or the local factory or something like that.
For a lot of people down there, it's very hard. At least for the part of Mexico where I was, most of the people are very poor. Almost maybe less than half of the people have cars. Going to church for them is like climbing a mountain if they don't have a car. Because they're so poor, they don't have very much money to spend on bus passages to go to church. Their education is very poor, and they do go to school and things, but the majority of the people were not very educated at all, and it's a big problem. Like a lot of people, families are so poor that they just have to have their kids stay home and work, and other situations like that. So I was really grateful that I had access to education and to go to church as easily as I do here in America, compared to over there where going to church and going to school is very hard and not always possible.
Well, they do have like little internet cafes in Italy, so like if someone can't afford to have Wi-Fi or like a phone, you know, that can have the internet on it, they have like these little hotspots all over town or like just in the area where people can go and like give $1 or like a couple of dollars to like be on the internet for like an hour or two. One thing that was tricky was shopping is the roads in Italy. So I didn't have a car, but the roads are super like uneven and cobblestoney. So I mean, even if you do have a car, you have to park sort of like far away, or you go to like the market, you walk there, and you have like a little granny cart with you, but it'll like tip, or like the groceries will fall out. One thing though, they do have a ton of fresh markets everywhere for shopping, so that was like super nice because it felt like things were really close in like a lot of places.
As far as shopping goes in Chile, like one thing that's pretty cool about there is it's most of like the necessary stuff is made available through like little shops that people will just open up out of their house. They call them like negocios, which just means business in Spanish. They would just have these little negocios, these little like shops all over the place, like on a lot of the different streets. So you could go there and buy like veggies and oil and stuff like that, everything like Chileans use for cooking. So shopping wasn't really that big of a deal. Internet's not too terribly accessible. If you have like internet on your phone or internet in your house, like you're pretty well off, like you're pretty rich. But there are internet cafes that you can pay by the hour, or like set up an account there and just like have it pay you that way.
There are places that have stores. They're called Soriana. It's kind of like a Walmart, and there will be some of those, but there are areas where you don't have any stores. But they do have a lot of bakeries around, and they have like little shops. A lot of people makeshift their own homes into small shops where they sell food. So that's how they get their accessibility. Like imagine like your house, like the garage would be like a shop, and that would have food and stuff. As far as internet, some people would have their houses and they would just buy a few computers, and they would have they call them a ciber, so it's like I don't even know what it would be in English. It's like a place where you can go pay to use a computer for an hourly rate. In America, we don't have that. Everyone has a computer or a phone here, but over there, you gotta like go to like a little shop or whatever. They do have access to internet, but their Wi-Fi is really bad. I actually visited my mission over this last summer, and it was pretty frustrating because I couldn't contact anyone a lot of the time. So they don't have as good access to the internet.
Transportation was kind of sparse pretty much anywhere south of Rome in Italy, so you kind of had to just, if you saw a bus coming, you had to quickly run to the stop to make sure you got on it, or you just had to walk or just run to whatever appointment or place you had to go to get there on time. And also, transportation is a big issue in Italy. The workers that have to work the buses and the trains aren't happy with their pay, so they're always on strike. Even if there is like a scheduled bus or a scheduled train, you'll get to the station or like the stop and there'll be a thing saying like, oh, there's a strike happening right now, so there's no running buses. And then you just kind of get stuck. So that's something that's really nice, I think, about America and Australia, actually, because they both have pretty good, decent transportation systems. Really easy.
One thing is no houses have like a water heater. All it is just a propane powered little heating coil thing that heats up the water. And that's what they have in Chile. but it's hooked up to just a tank of gas, like a propane tank. So if you run out in the propane tank, you're screwed. So like when you run out, you call this number, and the guys who service that propane tank, the company's called Abastible, and they'll drive to you with a new tank and take your old tank, and it'll cost you like $20. So that was sometimes something that like wasn't too terribly accessible. Like if we were out of money, we just took cold showers. Other than that, like most things were available. Like it's a pretty solid country.
Well, I think transportation, they did have access to transportation, but mainly through buses and taxis. For us, like if we were in Fort Collins and we wanted to go to Denver, that's only an hour drive, right? But for them, it takes a lot longer because they have to go to a bus or take a taxi, and most taxis don't go that far. Transportation is a big deal.
Definitely would be more open, still be cautious, you know, and like be aware of my surroundings, definitely. And I think I would just be more like willing to get to know the culture better and like talk to the people about their lives and what they love and what they want or what they would love to do. I don't know, I feel like I would want to experience the culture more because it's interesting, you get to know people better, and I feel like it opens you up to more of yourself. You realize, oh, I have parts of me that I feel like I kind of like that.
I'd say the best thing that I could have done is just to dive wholeheartedly into the culture and into the language and into the country. I applied that later on in my time in Chile. I spoke like them, I acted like them, I ate like them. I tried to be as much like them as I could because they feel more comfortable around you when they feel, I guess you'd say, more similar to you. Because Americans in a lot of countries, especially me, I'm like 6'3", huge, just white dude walking around everywhere, and everybody else is pretty small, and sometimes they've never seen an American as big as I am. And so once they really understand, like, hey, this guy's basically Chilean, they can really open up to you in a lot of ways.
I think I would definitely spend a lot of time in the language to learn it very well. A lot of times as a missionary, you're with an American companion and you speak Spanish to each other, but I notice you only really improve your Spanish when you're speaking to native speakers. So I would spend time with the native speakers more, and that would help me gain an understanding of the language. I probably would have enjoyed being friends with a lot of people down there. They're very social people. They're very good at being social. They're great people.